fuel to keep you in the kind of shape that you're in?
You know, it shows me people don't really know about football, because I feel like people that know the game of football, then they know different situations a player might be in. And so when people go back and say, oh, 2.4 yards a carry, you know, it's a lot that contribute to that as well. So, you know, I just brush it off and I continue to work, because at the end of the day, you know, I control my output, you know, so that's why I continue to work hard. I knew an opportunity would present itself, and at the end of the day, you know, guys willing, stay healthy, or, you know, the guys up front, you know, stay healthy as well, and I know that I'll be able to contribute in a big way in the run game.
Adrian, what has the wait been like for you? And then also, if this opportunity proves the right one, the right offensive line, the right system,
it is.
What can you give to the Redskins?
I can give a lot. Yeah, I really believe that. Because there's a great group, not only on the offensive line, but young receivers, 2 great tight ends, Alex Smith, young defense. So I feel like the sky's the limit, you know. But going through the process of being a free agent, obviously when I come in, number 7 overall, stay in Minnesota for 10 years, you know, I was able to experience a lot. So it was a revolving door. I seen guys come in and come out. You know, I seen guys that moved their family to, you know, Minnesota. Then 5 weeks later, you know, they were headed somewhere else. And so I have appreciation for it, you know. So it was rough. Don't get me wrong, because I'm human, and I know what I have left in the tank, you know. But ultimately, I just really sit back and just appreciate it, because I've seen so many people deal with way worse. You know, I've been blessed to have this type of career that I've had, and blessed now to continue it.
Adrian, how do you view the competition here with the Redskins at running back?
How do I view it? It's good. You got some good running backs, some smart guys. You know, I've been here, you know, this is my first practice, so I haven't really been able to see too much, but there's some talent in the running back room for sure.
Is your mindset to come in and compete for that top job right away?
Without a doubt. And I would be cheating myself if that wasn't my approach.
Kind of along those same lines, what have you been told about the opportunity you could have and how it relates to, for instance, the health of Samaje, a guy I'm sure you know from Oklahoma, but what have you been told about your opportunity and what's available to you?
We haven't really gotten into detail, you know, but obviously they brought me in for a reason, and I'm just going to play my role, whatever it is.
Jay, just talk to us about your conditioning during the workout yesterday. So a lot of guys huffing and puffing, bent over. You weren't breathing heavy. You were upright. What do you attribute that to right now? I mean, how much of it is natural? How much of it is the work that you've been doing?
I've been grinding, man. You know, you get out what you put in. You know, you got to run to make sure your lungs are open and conditioned well. You know, and do different things. So that's what I contribute to. You know, I don't allow people to box me in. You know, I know there's a lot of athletes out there that are commentators now, and they have so much to say. You know, but maybe when they were 33, they didn't feel like they had it, you know, or they couldn't do it. I don't allow people to box me in. That's what I try to, you know, just tell people in general. Don't allow anyone to box you in, you know. You are what you think. You know, you get out what you put in, you know. Darryl Green ran a 4.4 at 50 years old, you know. Stuff like that, that motivates you. That tells you that, hey, anything is possible, you know. So that's how I've always viewed any situation that I've been in, and even that's how I view the doubters as well. I was like, all right, whatever, it is what it is.
Adrian, to follow up on that, that was kind of along the lines of my question. Coach Gruden called you a physical freak. How is it, a lot has been made of your age, how is it you are still looked at as a physical freak? What do you do to keep yourself in that shape?
Mm-hmm. You know, the gym that I spoke of, that I didn't say it was the gym, but it's a gym that we own in Texas, in Houston, Texas. our vision was to have everything under one roof. So we have a hill outside, so I do a lot of hill work, and it's hot in Texas, clearly. We have a sand volleyball, so I'm able to get out there and do different agilities in the sand as well. We have yoga, we have turf, we have boxing. So I'm able to do a lot of stuff to keep my body in shape, and I'm more conscious. I'm never really been on a diet, but I'm more so aware and conscious of what I put in my body and try to eat healthy, and good genes as well.
Adrian, you brought up the doubters before, and you can look at all the stats with the last couple of years. What did you see out of yourself when you watch yourself on film to told you, I still have something left? What are you seeing out of yourself on film?
Ask that question again.
What are you seeing out of? We can look at the stats and the numbers from what you had the last couple of years, but what are you seeing out of yourself that says, I still have a lot left in my tank?
Every summer, we have young guys that come and work out in our gym, and not yet has anyone outworked me. I'm talking about 21, 22-year-old guys. No matter if it's speed work or agility work, running the hill. So that right there is a good measuring stick as well. I'm talking guys like Melvin Gordon but when you watch the film, I feel like it's evidence there to show that, hey, he still got the burst, the acceleration, and the power. But I guess everyone doesn't view it that way, and that's fine.
Adrian, outside of Samaje, who you're familiar with from Oklahoma, how familiar were you with some of the backs on the roster, like a Chris Thompson or Rob Kelly? Were you familiar with any of those guys?
Yeah, Chris Thompson and Kelly, familiar with those guys just from watching, and being a fan of my boy Trent, and so I was able to catch those guys and see what they were able to do last year a little bit. Yeah. Thank you.
So you take all the mics away when I come up, huh? I don't blame you. Good afternoon, guys.
All right, well, let's ask about the new guy, Devion Smith. No.
Good questions.
With Adrian, what was the attraction for you to bringing him in?
Well, number one, we brought in 3 guys day before yesterday to work out. We didn't like any of them guys really. We brought Jamal Charles in for a visit. We talked to them, and Adrian was willing to work out. He came here and he was willing to work out with 4 other guys. And when you stand out there and you see these young guys working out, and then you see Adrian Peterson work out, we really was in a position to sign one guy because we only had one roster spot at the particular time, but we knew we had another roster spot that we can get. And the most important thing was to let the guys heal up that we have on this roster and try to get through the preseason with a young guy, and that was Devin Smith. If he can come here and impress, and if he can put us in a bind as to making a decision, that would have been great. But with the workout that Adrian had too, we feel like at that situation, I heard you ask the question about what he has left in the tank. I don't know what he has left in the tank, but what I saw yesterday, I think is a lot of fuel in his tank. And I think the most important thing is things that we can't control is injuries. And in the last couple of years, he's had a couple of injuries. If we can stay injury-free, and if he got what he showed yesterday in the tank, we feel pretty good about what he could contribute to this football team.
Doug, did you ever at any point think of bringing, when he's coming in, the fact that he's gone through this knee injury and you just recently had Darius, have surgery on the ACL? Was there any thinking that perhaps, if Adrian sticks around and performs well, that he also could be a guy that shows Darius how to maybe work and come back from an injury like that?
I didn't get it about the whole question.
As far as Darius, as far as his injury, did you ever think about Adrian having gone through that he could be a guy that shows him how to work hard and get through it?
I'm not worried about Geis. He FaceTimed me last night, so we talked. And he's the same upbeat guy that he was before he got injured. And he understands that he had a road that he has to travel, and I think he's willing to work. So we're looking for Geis to come back just like he was before the injury.
You were pretty vocal at the Combine that the running game needed to be better coming into the season. You guys drafted Geis, he went down. The injury situation being what it is, just what do you expect from the run game going forward, and how does Peterson kind of factor into all that?
Well, it's no doubt that drafting Geis, gave us confidence and a hope that our whole backfield situation was a lot better than it was last year. And even, after we lost Darius, we realized, we still got the guys, but when they came in camp, Rob, and I almost said he's not known as that anymore, he slimmed down. Rob and P-Ryan came back in pretty good shape. And I think a lot had to do with the fact that we did have Geis, and they realized that we got to come back and work. So we was happy the way they came back, and you can't count Capri Bibbs out. He came back, he was running. Marshall was having a good camp, so we felt pretty good. Even after Geis got hurt, we felt pretty good with those guys until the other two injuries hit us. When P. Ryan and Marshall hit him, you realize what's happening here. We don't know. So we was put in this situation, and we're here now.
With Perine and Marshall, and especially Samaje, due back pretty soon, how do you feel like all these pieces fit together when you try to project ahead to the 53-man roster, and how Adrian could fit in that?
Well, I think like anything else, you let the chips fall where they may. I think we got 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks to find out exactly how this thing going to work out. And Adrian could very well be a part of that. P. Ryan can come back healthy. We don't know how long Marshall going to be out, whether or not it's 2 or 3 weeks. You don't know. But they got to come back. We do know Capri Bibbs has had a good camp, and Rob is healthy. So you got to roll with what you have at this particular time and let the weeks come by and find out where we are in the next 3 weeks.
Doug, what does it say about Adrian's mindset, the fact that you guys talked about how good of a workout he had, but the fact that he was willing to go through a workout from a guy who, from his past, might not normally feel like he needs to come in and show what he still has?
I think the average guy that has accomplished what Adrian has accomplished probably would feel like I don't have to work out. You sign me. But he didn't come in with that attitude. I think it shows you the person he is, that he has humility, and he realized that he wanted to play. He realized that, he's in a good situation as far as, what we have here, the pieces to go with. And he was willing to do whatever it takes to show us that, he deserved an opportunity to be on this football team.
Hey, Doug, given you've had a camp now to kind of look at things, and aside from the running backs, first of all, you have a kind of a healthy competition maybe in the second half of the receiving core, and also what have you seen from Alex in this camp and the way he works with receivers and the way that he makes or breaks this offense a little bit?
I think Alex brings a different dynamics to this offense, and I can say this, when Darius got hurt, I was down for a day or two, and, you go back to practice and you realize you still got to go forward. And I realized we had Alex here, and what I've seen during training camp, that Alex brings something to this team that we hadn't had, and that is prolonging plays, making receivers make plays, throwing the ball where it's catchable, and giving them an opportunity to make plays. And I think that in itself is a plus for us, and I think talking to the receivers, they'll be the first to tell you that you can never give up on the route because you don't know whether or not he's going to throw the ball to you, and he realized that some of them got to make adjustments for the ball, and they've had a lot of fun doing that in camp. I've seen some great catches in camp, not from just perfect throws, but the ball was in a position and in the range of the receiver that they had to make adjustment to make the catch, and I think that's what the game is all about.
At receiver, too. I mean, I guess you kind of say at the first three, but after that, it seems like there's a fairly decent competition.
It's been a good competition. I think what has happened, the free agent kid from Alabama threw a hand grenade in this thing. I think Sims has had a tremendous camp. You got to give Quick some compliment. He was having a great camp before the injury. Maurice Harris has played exceptionally well until the concussion, and Kizzy, the young kid from Texas Southern, walk-on, has had a good camp, and I think Trey Quinn, Mr. Irrelevant, has proven that he could have been Mr. Irrelevant or could have been picked a lot earlier. He's had a pretty good camp and played some pretty good games.
What else jumped out at you watching this team in camp?
Defensive front. Love the defensive front. We're young, energetic. They understand what's at stake, And the fact that you got so many combinations you can play with up front. You don't just have to just say, hey, you're going to play nose tackle, but you can put whoever's at nose at the 5 tech, and you can just intertwine with each other. I think, I9 has had an injury to put him back a couple weeks, but with the young guys, it's a young defensive front, and they've been playing real good football. They practice hard. I think what it's done for the secondary, we got 2 young secondary players that is coming here and made an impact along with Fabian. So you got 3 young defensive backs. I think Dunbar has probably had one of the best camps that he's had since he's been here at defensive back. And you watch Josh Norman. Josh Norman, is who he is, but I think when you think about his work habits, he's probably worked as hard as anybody in his camp. So you feel pretty good from the defensive side of it. If they keep what they've been doing up, I think we'd be in pretty good situation.
Back to Adrian. Throughout his career, he's a superstar in this league. Jay had previously talked about some sort of a committee between Rob and Samaje. If Adrian is asked to be part of a committee, how do you expect that to go?
That's out of my hand. That's down the other side of the hall. That's the coaching side of it. I think that's something that Coach Randy and Jay and Matt, the coordinators, had to sit down with Adrian and let him know, how this thing is going to work. But we all know if you got a guy that got a hot hand, you don't set him down just because you want to give the other guy a chance to play. But, if you're going by committee and you're getting results, you got to keep doing what you're doing.
Doug, you mentioned that young defensive front, and obviously Tim Settle's been a big story. From your vantage point, why was he available that late? And did you all forecast him as someone who had been undervalued in this draft?
Firstly, let me tell you why he was available, because about 31 other teams passed him up. 32 of us passed him up until we got there in the 5th round. And he was there and we picked him. I can honestly say that we had him a lot higher than the 5th round. And with the picking of Payne, our mindset really wasn't another D lineman at that particular time. But when you look at a young guy with the ability that he has and the fact that we had him a little higher than, we value him a little higher than what he went, it's hard to pass him up under those circumstances. And I think that was a good pick in the 5th round for us, and mix him in with the young guys that we already have. And you watch what he's done since OTAs and where he is today. I think he's come a long ways and mix in with this defensive front. All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.